This is the transition on Atlantic Television Network. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has discredited the list circulating on social media as the River State People's Democratic Party Caretaker Committee and Governor Fubara, who spoke during the inauguration ceremony for the construction of the Port Harcourt International Automobile Spare Parts Trading and Commercial Center, urged members of the public to disregard the list, branding it as fabricated and lacking credibility. According to the governor, the list holds no merit. River State Police Command has continued to demonstrate its unwavering commitment in combating the menace of kidnapping within the region. In a recent development, an intensive operation conducted by the police has resulted in the successful arrest of 5 individuals suspected to be involved in various criminal activities, including kidnapping and cultism. The investigation was initiated following a report made by the management of Lujo Heights Homes on January 19, 2024. The report detailed the disappearance of 4 staff members during a routine property inspection in Okocha Community, Igbo Eche local government area. Despite repeated attempts to establish contact, there was no response from the missing individuals. Though through meticulous intelligence gathering efforts, the police apprehended 4 suspects believed to be connected to the incident. The arrested individuals have been identified as Yahaya Bello, Aliyu Usman, Sule Abubakar, and Abdullahi Adamu. During questioning, these suspects confessed to their involvement in the abduction of the victims as well as the subsequent destruction of the Toyota Sequoia SUV that they were traveling in. So the victims, who endured a harrowing ordeal in the forest of Eche, recounted being subjected to inhumane treatment and constant threats of death unless a ransom of 300 million naira was paid for their release. Investigations revealed that these individuals are part of a criminal network predominantly comprised of Fulani individuals operating under the guise of cattle rearers. They have been engaged in series of kidnappings across Rivers, Delta, and Edo states. In Port Harcourt, they had taken up residence in the Valley Decision Estate, where they deceitfully convinced the community to grant them access to the land, purportedly for protection against land grabbers. During the operations, the police recovered 2 locally made pistols, 2 smartphones, and a black Toyota Sequoia belonging to the gang. Investigation is currently underway to apprehend other members of the criminal network who are still in a separate operation. The anti-cultism unit successfully arrested a notorious cultist and kidnapper known as Godfrey Odum. Godfrey was implicated in the abduction of Precious Chuku, a student of Elichia Madi Polytechnic. The victim was eventually released after being robbed of her belongings. Godfrey has confessed to the crime and has provided crucial information regarding the identities of other gang members involved. The Commissioner of Police, Tunji Disu, expressed his commendations for the outstanding efforts of the officers of River State Police Command in combating crime and ensuring the safety of residents. He advised residents to be careful when hiring security personnel and reiterated the command's unwavering commitment to rid the state of criminal elements. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says the intervention of President between him and his estranged political godfather, Nyesom Wike, was political and not constitutional. He said he was committed to implementing the 8-point resolution reached at the mediation meeting with Tinubu in Abuja last year, October, out of respect for the president, and warned that he would surprise those who considered his honest decision to implement the Presidential Peace Pact as a sign of weakness. Fubara also said he had been inundated with several comments in the media about the implementation of the peace initiative and had chosen to be silent out of maturity and wisdom, adding that the agreement was accepted as a political solution. A statement issued in Port Harcourt by Fubara's Chief Press Secretary, Nelson Chukudi, said that he had commenced the implementation of the agreement out of respect for President Tinubu. Governor Fubara, who received members of the National Nigeria employees from the 23 local government areas of Rivers State on a solidarity rally at Government House Gate in Port Harcourt, also said there are large numbers for the proof of the nature of the organic support his administration had continued to enjoy from the people of the state. The All Progressive Congress in Rivers State has exposed plans by Governor Siminalayi Fubara to secure an interim order to override the laws passed by and declare them illegal. He said the plan is to appoint caretaker chairman for the 23 local government areas. APC Caretaker Committee Chairman Sir Tony Okocha, who disclosed this during a press briefing in Port Harcourt, frowned at the move by the governor and vowed to petition the judges involved to the National Judicial Council. He described the move as illegal, insensitive, and to President Bola Tinubu's Peace Pact.
He wants to procure interim order restraining or is stopping the implementation of the laws which he was vetoed over. He wants to procure an order to announce as illegal the Rivers State House of Assembly as constituted and as led by Right Honorable Martins Chike Amehule. And he's doing that so that he will now leverage on that law, on that order, to go ahead to appoint caretaker committees in local government against the warning of the man he says he respects, the president. But let's put it clearly here that we will stoutly, vehemently oppose such negative subterranean moves.
The APC in Rivers State further took a swipe at the outburst by Governor Siminalayi Fubara when he received members of the local government employees in Government House on Wednesday. Recall that Governor Fubara had, during a rally by the local government employees on Wednesday, said President Bola Tinubu's Peace Pact is a political solution and not constitutional rights, adding that his silence should not be taken as weakness. But the APC Caretaker Committee Chairman, Sir Tony Okocha, described Fubara's outburst as disrespectful to the person of President Bola Tinubu, who intervened in the political crisis in Rivers State, adding that Fubara's display of rascality shows no sign of peace. Okocha, who identified principle of separation of powers between the legislature and the executive arms of government in Rivers State as the major cause of political crisis in the state, disassociated the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike from the menace and therefore demands, amongst others, that the Rivers State Governor should obey the 8-point Peace Pact by representing the budget to the recognized State Assembly headed by Martins Amehule and conduct local government elections.
This unprovoked outburst further support our assertions that it is Governor Fubara who mobilized his cronies to institute suits in law courts challenging the powers of Mr. President to churn out the Peace Pact. Is it not true that with Governor Sim's outburst, Mr. President is limited only in Rivers State to his avowal as one to protect and defend the entire territory and sovereignty of Nigeria, which of course includes Rivers State. In other words, Rivers State in itself, according to Governor Siminalayi Fubara, is a sovereign nation state with Governor Fubara now as the GCFR. Is it true to claim respect for one that you don't obey? Who was Governor Fubara wanting to surprise in such a crooked, high-pitched voice in public?
analyst has called on Governor Fubara to recount how he emerged as the governor of Rivers during the February 2023 elections in the state that got him into office as the executive governor of Rivers State. He reminded Fubara about his fallout with the FCT minister concerning the implementation of the Presidential Peace Pact, which he described as a political solution to the initial crisis rocking the state. Speaking on Atlantic Television's Open Conversation, a political analyst, Ifeanyichukwu Ugochukwu, said that the former governor of Rivers State, now the FCT minister, Ezenwo Nyesom Wike, solely walked out the victory of the February 2023 elections and deserves to be honored for the efforts.
In 2023, and Fubara is now, I can say that he's now assuming the position of the late president of Nigeria, who is the late Musa Yar'Adua, who said that the election that brought him were flawed. Because that is what I'm waiting for Fubara to do, because the sympathy he's gathering now, he never got it from the Rivers populace during the campaigns and during the election, even when he was sworn in, all because a deputy minister now muzzled everybody out, silenced everywhere, and made sure that he had his way. And it was not the person of Fubara that the Rivers people were disdaining, but because of the person behind his coming to power. So today, he suddenly find out that people are now supporting him. That is why he quickly signed the peace pact in Abuja. What he was talking about, because he never knew his ground.
The peace pact is...
Meanwhile, Barrister Asim Adams expressed disappointment over the lingering political feud in the states will as well hinder the leadership stride of the current administration.
The Rivers State imbroglio between one hand, the governor and the FCT minister, and on the other hand, with the governor, the executive, and the legislature, has not abated. Instead of abating on a daily track, is exacerbating. And that is sorry sight for people of Rivers State. I was thinking by now, fences would have been made, but you find out that at what point in time, the minister will speak from Abuja, a war mode. The governor on this other side will speak from Muhammad in a war mode. The House of Assembly also will turn out war threats, etc., as the case may be. So it's such of a rig.
The Edo State House of Assembly says the state's deputy governor, Philip Shaibu, allegedly leaked the government's secrets and committed perjury, describing them as impeachable offenses. The assembly, represented by its deputy clerk, Joe Haifa, who disclosed this while speaking at an inauguration sitting of the 7-man panel probing Shaibu. The panel, headed by retired Justice S.A. Omonua, was raised by the Edo State Chief Judge, Justice Daniel Okomboa, at the instance of the State Assembly, which on March the 5th commenced impeachment proceedings against the deputy governor, adding that the impeachment proceedings were based on a petition accusing Shaibu of perjury and leaking government secrets. The impeachment move is believed to be the latest development in the rift between Shaibu and his principal, Governor Godwin Obaseki, while the deputy clerk said that Shaibu leaked the state's secrets in the affidavit he filed in support of an Abuja lawsuit. He also said that Shaibu violated the oaths of secrecy he took and acted contrary to the provisions of Schedule 7 of the 1999 Constitution, and the panel, after hearing the Assembly's case, adjourned for Shaibu to enter his defense. The 7-man panel set up by the Edo State Chief Judge, Justice Daniel Okomboa, to investigate the allegations of gross misconduct levels against the state Deputy Governor, Philip Shaibu, has fixed Friday, April the 5th, 2024, for final adjournment for the deputy governor to defend himself. The panel took the decision when it resumed its sitting while the deputy governor and his counsel were absent. The chairman of the panel, Justice S.A. Omonua, retired, said that the panel would wait to see if the defendant will open his defense and thereafter called for the defendant as well as the Edo State House of Assembly, which initiated the impeachment process. The legal officer, Edo State House of Assembly, N.U. Ibrahim, announced his appearance for the assembly with two others, while the chairman ruled that the panel would still adjourn to give the defendant the opportunity to appear before it to present his defense. Justice Omonua said the panel is adjourned for the last time to April the 5th, 2024 at 12 noon to allow the defendant to present his defense. Cross River State Governor Basi Otu said that he inherited an empty treasury from his predecessor, Benedict Ayade. The Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, Aripo Edet, who disclosed this in Calabar, the state capital, said the present government inherited poor infrastructure but has commenced some road rehabilitation across the state. Edet said that the O2 administration will not abandon any task started by the previous government and has achieved significant progress in urban development. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has stopped an illegal bunkering site in the Ukwa East local government area of Abia State. The statement signed by the NSCDC spokesperson Babawale of Afolabi said that the operatives impounded 9,000 liters of automotive gas oil from the oil thieves in the state, adding that the operations were conducted by the Commandant General's Special Intelligence Squad in a renewed onslaught against the activities of economic saboteurs. He said that the squad, through credible intelligence, got wind of oil bunkering activities taking place at Ihandu, Ikwariado, Riverside, Okwa East Council area, saying an uninterrupted loading and conveyance of automotive gas oil concealed in cellophane bags were ongoing in the area. He also said that those involved in the illegal activities ran away on citing the NSCDC operatives, adding that the Intelligence and Investigation Department has commenced an investigation on the matter while operatives were on the trail of the oil thieves. Following the inspection by the National Assembly Joint Committee on Works on the repair work of the Third Mainland Bridge and other federal government projects in Lagos State, the Third Mainland Bridge has been reopened. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, who disclosed this, warned motorists to observe speed limits when traveling along the extensive section of the newly repaired Third Mainland Bridge. A statement issued by the agency's spokesperson, Adebayo Taufik, urged motorists to observe all traffic signs and installed technological equipment connected to traffic, while the Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Osiemi, on his X handle, said that the Third Mainland Bridge will resume full operations on May the 4th, 2024, following extensive repairs. Operatives of the Nigerian Navy ship B. Croft says that they have discovered an automatic gas oil of 400,000 liters capacity bunker at a private residence in the Lekki area of Lagos State. The discovery followed intelligence received by the base that a gas tanker had been seen loading at Legoshi Beach. During the handing over of the suspects and recovered products to the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps at Silverbird Road, Ilasun, in Lekki, through the commander NNS Beecroft, Commander Rafiu Taye Oladejo, said the suspects operated an unregistered company, Ahmed Ario Sons Nigeria Limited, in a residential neighborhood. He alleged that the two sisters and other suspects were running an illegal family business without care for the safety of others, while expressing worry that an apartment of this nature was serving as an illegal fuel depot, undermining the economic and security implications on the lives and properties in the area. The commander also said said that the estimated worth of all the storage facilities at the AGO was full capacity was about 500 million naira. Several residents of Okeigon community in Eleko area of Ajah, Lagos State are urging the State House of Assembly in Ikeja to order the compensation for the demolition of their houses. Residents of the affected community who were wielding large banners with boldly written messages as well as the placards with inscriptions to communicate their plights barricaded the Lagos House main gate. Speaking on behalf of the protesters, Dr. Taiwo Alalade decried how her entire family, including 3 toddlers and her elderly mother, had been sleeping out in the open after their house was demolished. Economic Council, addressing the protesters, the majority leader of the House, Nohim Adams, who was accompanied by his colleagues Oladipupo Ojomale, Fatai Mojid, and Tijani Soraju, commended them for their peaceful conduct, adding that their letter will be presented to the Speaker of the House, Mudashiru Obasa, and the needful will be done to bring respite to them. This is coming after the Lagos State government recently demolished houses considered not meeting the requirements prescribed by the state, while some of the structures were taken down were also found to be obstructing drainage channels. Public affairs analyst has called on the government and civil society organizations to regulate the activities carried out by herbalists across the country in order to reduce the rising spate of family misdemeanor and social disorderliness posed by their uncontrolled activities. Speaking on Atlantic Television's Society Watch, a public affairs analyst, Emmanuel Nweke, stressed on the need for monitoring and evaluation of herbalist activities in order to minimize the alarming rate of complications caused among families.
Episode of African Magic, where we are now seeing this extra technological variable, you know, the force attracting people to come together without content. You know, it's a technology to be so sophisticated. Yeah, don't you just see a lady and you provided there is a charm, and then there is no the minimal comfort around there. You can still stay for 6 days, and then that such a charm can also shut somebody from course or taking. I don't really know.
Okay.
You know, so and this part of the story is.
This is coming after a 35-year-old man, Abayomi Babalola, was arrested by operatives of the Amoteku Corps in Osun State over allegations that he kept a housewife as a sex slave for 3 weeks. A statement obtained in Oshobo, the spokesperson for the Osun Amoteku Corps, Yusuf Idowu, alleged that the suspect living in Modakeke had used a magic ring made for him by a cleric to commandeer the victim, identified simply as Sophiyot, out of her husband's house and moved her to Modakeke, where she was kept as a sex slave. You're watching The Transition on Atlantic Television Network. We'll return after this very short break. Please stay tuned.
Frontline.
You're welcome back to Transition on Atlantic Television Network right here in the city of Port Harcourt. And now to the rest of our stories. Few days after President Bola Tinubu signed the student loan scheme into law, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund says it will begin a pilot phase of the student loan scheme with applicants from the public tertiary institutions with students of federal and state universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. The loan fund had urged President Bola Tinubu to soon appoint a chairperson and a managing director and 2 executive directors as part of his executive management team. The spokesperson for the fund, Nasiru Ayitogo, said that the provisions of the Student Loan Access to Higher Education Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024, which Tinubu signed into law on the same day, was expected to launch the scheme after appointing qualified persons into the offices provided by the new law. The executive bill was titled A Bill for an Act to Repeal the Students' Loan Access to Higher Education Act 2023 and enact the Students' Loan Access to Higher Education Bill 2024 to establish the Nigerian Educational Loan Fund as a body corporate to receive, manage, and invest funds to provide loans to Nigerians for higher education, vocational training, and skills acquisition, and 4 related matters. Concerned Igbo Citizens Council is calling on the federal government to, as a matter of necessity, approve the unconditional release of all pro-Biafran activists and other Nigerians incarcerated for self-determination agitations in fulfillment of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's promised commitment to a free society. A statement signed by his interim national coordinator and the interim national secretary, Comrade Ukachukwu Obioha and Mazi James Okorie, respectively, in Owerri, said that the unconditional release of Sunday Igboho, a pro-Odua Republic agitator, and Omoyele Shore is commendable, and insisted that the same gesture must be extended to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and all other Nigerians currently detained for similar activities. The statement also said that the continued detention of Kanu and hundreds of Igbo youths over indigenous people of Biafra activities, while their Yoruba counterparts have been granted reprieve by the present administration that gives an unsavory ethnic and factional coloration to federal government's actions. Additionally, the group urged the Department of State Services, the police, and the National Human Rights Commission to, as a matter of urgency, commence investigations and compilations of lists of those killed and maimed and unlawfully incarcerated for self-determination agitations across board. The United Nations Office on Drug and Crime says it has donated wildlife monitoring and enforcement equipment to the federal government in a bid to bring an end to wildlife tracking from Nigeria. The UNODC presented the equipment to the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, which is an organization of the federal government in charge of combating wildlife tracking from Nigeria. The Director General Nezria, Professor Aliu Jauro, while receiving the equipment in Abuja, said that wildlife traffickers now adopt sophisticated methods, stressing that the agency would need standard equipment to tackle this menace, adding that the provisions of real-time equipment will greatly enhance wildlife monitoring, investigation, intelligence gathering, enforcement, evidence collection, data generation, data management, and transmission. A statement issued in Abuja said that the government was taking all necessary steps to rid the country of wildlife crimes, as the recent destruction of seized wildlife stockpiles was intended to discourage perpetrators of the crime and also send out the signal that the country would no longer tolerate any form of wildlife crime on its soil. Jauro also said that Nigeria had put in place the necessary checks at the borders in a bid to frustrate the activities of those who seek to use the country as a transit hub for illegal shipments of controlled wildlife and their products, and expressed appreciation to the UNODC, adding that the gadgets would be deployed to the zonal and state field offices of the agency, particularly those areas affected as identified as hotspots for traffickers. Moving on, the House of Representatives have assured adequate funding of the student loan for the benefits of Nigerian schooling in public-owned tertiary institutions across the country. The chairman of the House Committee on Student Loan, Scholarship and Higher Education Financing, Honorable Boyega Ishiaka, gave the assurance during a press briefing held in Abuja. The lawmaker disclosed that the quantum of funds required for successful implementation of the students' loan will be drawn from 1% of all revenues accruing into the Federation accounts, adding that the repeal of the initial Student Loan Act was necessitated with a view to remove all bottlenecks that may deprive a lot of Nigerian students from accessing the loan.
Accessing the loan, the condition, the bottleneck, and the institutional challenge. Well, the conditions and the bottleneck, that is what this law has tried to remove. And that is why the issue of guarantors were removed. So that, and in this age of technology, and knowing that these are the youths, these are people that are knowledgeable, some of those institutional challenges too, we should be able to circumvent them, because most of it, I know, will be online, will be tech-based. I mean, the whole essence of this is, number one, is about cost sharing. Number two is also to give the students the opportunity to also have a say into their future. Now, if you want to go and read engineering, and the cost of engineering is so much, and you feel that your parents cannot afford it, therefore you want to, because of that, go to business admin or go to sociology. Now you have opportunity to go and read your engineering, because you know that at least you'll be able to, you'll be able to, assess a loan that can take you out of school, and also to bring some sanity into our education system. We now have a situation where, at the end of the day, both the government, the parents, and the students are all contributing towards educating a child. I mean, who will now be given an opportunity to start repayment up to a maximum of 10% of his gross income, that is what is in the law, when he even start working.
The member also disclosed that anyone convicted is liable to 2 million naira fine or 3 months imprisonment or both. Speaking on the possible takeoff time of the scheme, he expressed optimism that the executive will expedite action on the setting up of the management team of the institution without further delay, and also averred that the education loan has both economic and social benefits, and the student loan is interest-free loan and also has a flexible repayment arrangement. The Department of State Services said it has obtained a court order to detain a Nigerian, Emmanuel Osase, who is accused of being a member of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. Justice Iyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja said the DSS could detain the suspect for 60 days, while the order followed an ex parte application taken before the judge by a DSS lawyer, A.A. Ugi. Ugi told the court that the matter was brought in pursuant to Section 66, Subsection 1 of the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022, and prayed the court for an order enabling the applicant to detain the suspect for 60 days pending the conclusion of an investigation. The judge subsequently adjourned till June the 3rd for further proceedings, while Osase, who was arrested on March the 11th, was accused of propagating ISIS messages as well as opposing the democratic system of government in Nigeria. In the March 27, 2024 affidavit, Ahmad Abubakar of the DSS Legal Service Department, Abuja, said that the suspect needed to be detained because his release will jeopardize the DSS investigations, and Osase was jailed for 5 years for terrorism-related offenses in France and was deported after the completion of his sentence. Defense headquarters in Abuja has said that its operations across the country in the first quarter of 2024 has killed over 2,351 terrorists and arrested more than 2,308 terrorists and 1,241 kidnapped hostages have been rescued. Given the breakdown of successes for the period under review, the Director of Defense Media Operations Major General Edward Buba said that the troops also recovered 2,847 weapons, 58,492 munitions, and denied the oil theft of an estimated sum of over 2 billion naira, amongst others. He also said that the military have employed significant firepower to kill several terrorists and disrupt their activities, adding that the successes were enhanced through synchronized strikes between the ground and air forces on terrorist enclaves.
Of 2024 has resulted in 2,351 terrorists neutralized, 2,308 persons arrested, and 1,241 kidnapped hostages rescued in the first quarter. Furthermore, troops recovered in this first quarter 2,847 weapons and over 58,000 assorted ammunitions, and we denied the oil theft of over 20 billion naira in this first quarter of 2024. The breakdown is as follows. We recovered 1,497 AK-47 rifles. We recovered over 33,000 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition and over 12,000 rounds of 7.62 NATO ammunition, as well as 948 assorted arms and over 5,000 assorted ammunition. Other achievements within this first quarter includes the recovery of over 21,000 liters of stolen crude oil, over 2.7 million liters of illegally refined ADO, otherwise known as diesel, over 53,000 liters of DPK, otherwise known as kerosene, and over 52,000 liters of PMS, otherwise known as petrol.
The names of the terrorist kingpins are Abu Bilal Minuki, aka Abubakar Mainok, head of the is Al Furqan Province, ISGS, and ISWAP, and Haruna Isia Boderi. He was a notorious terrorist who operated along the Birnin Gwari forest in Kaduna State, as well as the Abuja-Kaduna highway. He was killed by terrorists, but he was killed by troops on the 21st of February 2024. Others are Kachala Damina, who was killed on March the 24th by troops alongside over 50 combatants. Kachala Alhaji Dayi, Kachala Idi Namai Daro, and Kachala Kabiru called Doka, as well as Kachala Azarailu, known as Farin Ruwa, Kachala Balejo, Ubangida, and Alhaji Baidu, amongst several others. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said in Abuja that a total of 2,351 terrorists were killed. The Labour Party has raised an alarm over the fire outbreak that raised the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, and his family at his official residence in Abuja. A statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obiora Ifo, who insinuated that the incident was an assassination attempt, said his family did not sustain any serious injuries and the victims were rushed to a private health facility for medical treatment. This is coming after Abure and the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress had political tussle for the control of Labour Party. Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned the tax evasion case involving Binance Holdings Limited and its executives. Also joined in the suit are officials of the company Tigran Gambayan and fleeing Nadim Anjawala. This is coming after the Federal Inland Revenue Service had dragged the firm to court for tax evasion. In the suit, Binance was accused of failing to register with the FIRS for purposes of paying all relevant taxes administered by the service, and also alleged that while it was offering taxable services to subscribers on its trading platform, the company failed to issue invoices to the subscribers for the purpose of determining and payment of its value-added taxes. The matter was adjourned on Thursday following the FIRS's inability to serve Gambayan the charges in EFCC custody, while alleged money laundering case instituted by the EFCC is underway. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested and detained controversial cross-dresser Idris Okune, aka Bob Risky, over abuse of naira, spraying of naira notes, and currency mutilation. Bobrisky, who has been involved in several controversies over the past week, was arrested in Lagos on Wednesday night and has since been detained at the Lagos command of the EFCC. Spokesperson for the EFCC, Dele Oyewale, said that the Bobrisky would be charged to court. Dele also said following the invitation by the commission that he arrived at the Lagos Zonal Command of the EFCC in the morning of April the 4th, 2024 for interrogation and volunteered his statements and will soon be charged to court upon conclusion of investigations. And now to some business news. Naira continued its appreciation against the US dollar despite a drop in foreign exchange turnover transactions in the FX market. Data from the FMDQ showed that the Naira appreciated further to 1,255 Naira per dollar at the foreign exchange market on Thursday, representing a 7.78 gain against the dollar compared to 1,262 Naira recorded the previous day. The Naira's appreciation comes despite the drop in the turnover of foreign exchange transactions to $133.99 million on Thursday from $166 million the previous day. Since the first week of March 2024, the country's currency has maintained a consistent gain against the dollar and other foreign currencies following the reform of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Crude oil prices surged further on Thursday, hitting $90 per barrel amidst geopolitical tensions. The Brent crude futures for June settled up on $1.30 or 1.5% to $90.65 per barrel, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures for May settled up on $1.16 or 1.4% to $86.59 per barrel. Both contracts closed on Thursday at their highest levels since October last year, having received support in recent days from the heightened geopolitical tensions and potentially supply risks. The increment in oil prices come following news reports that the Israeli embassies across the United States have been placed on high alert due to increasing threats of an Iranian attack on Israeli diplomats. Recall that Iran had vowed revenge against Israel for an attack on Monday that killed the high-ranking Iranian military personnel. Iran is the third largest producer in OPEC. In a sudden twist, Washington issued its strongest public rebuke towards Israel on Thursday since the start of its war with Hamas, warning that the U.S. policy on Gaza will be determined by whether Israel takes steps to address the safety of Palestinian civilians and aid workers. Meanwhile, the U.S. on Thursday imposed new Iran-related counterterrorism sanctions against Ocean Link Maritime DMCC and its vessels, citing its role in shipping commodities on behalf of the Iranian military. The National Shippers Association of Nigeria is urging the federal government to build more deep-sea ports in Nigeria in order to decongest the ports in Lagos. The President General of NSAN, Dr. Innocent Akugze, who disclosed this in Lagos, linked the dependence on Lagos port for vehicle importation on the lack of roll-on, roll-off facilities in other ports within the country. He said bringing vehicles to ports where there are fewer activities will create more problems for the importers. Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria says the selection process of beneficiaries for the 5 billion naira credit facility allotted meant for small businesses in the country will include the submission of Corporate Affairs Commission certificate and tax identification number as a compulsory requirement to obtain the loan. The head of Corporate Affairs, Moshood Lawal, who disclosed this in Abuja, said that the SMEDAN signed an agreement with Sterling Bank to disburse loan options ranging from 250,000 naira to 2.5 million naira at a single-digit interest rate of 9%, while facilitating the growth of small businesses through enhanced financial access. SMEDAN Director General Charles O.D. described it as an important milestone in our efforts to stimulate economic growth and drive prosperity by enhancing small and medium enterprises' access to finance and contribute to an overall upswing in beneficial trade and economic activities. He also said submission of the CAC certificate and tax identification number was needed to identify fake applicants and ensure that the funds is given to the right persons. Still ahead, international tidbits. Israel's Minister of Economy, Nir Barkat, has denied claims that Israeli forces deliberately targeted 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers in Gaza. WCK founder Jose Adreas has accused Israel of targeting workers systematically, car by car. Dismissing the claim, Barkat described Andrea's comment as nonsense. He said that the strikes that killed the workers were a grave mistake, adding that the incidents will be investigated. Speaking to BBC News, he said Israel was terribly sorry about killing the 7 aid workers, but unfortunately, in war, friendly fire happens. He said that the deaths of aid workers and civilians were part of war. The killings have drawn widespread international condemnation. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has demanded a thorough and transparent independent investigation. Similarly, the United States President Joe Biden has accused Israel of not doing enough to protect aid workers and civilians. The President of Nigeria and Chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of States and Government, Bola Tinubu, has inaugurated the 6th legislature of the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja, Nigeria. The inaugural section of the Parliament was formally marks the commencement of the business of the 6th legislature, is pursuant to Article 28 of the Supplementary Act on the enhancement of the powers of the ECOWAS Parliament of 2016. Following the end of the 5th legislature of ECOWAS Parliament on March the 8th, 2024. One of the high points of the inaugural session is the swearing-in of the representatives elected in the community parliament by the various parliaments of member states, with the new members affirming before the chairman of the authority their commitment to serve the interests of the people of the region. At the section, members will also elect Speaker of the 6th legislature to serve a 4th tenure in accordance with the provisions of the Supplementary Act 2016. ECOWAS Parliament is the representative assembly of peoples of the community, which has 115 seats, and each member state is guaranteed a minimum of allotted 5 seats, while the remaining 40 seats are distributed in proportion to the population of each country. South Africa's former parliament speaker has been arrested as part of the graft inquiry, and it is in the latest scandal to hit the governing African National Congress party ahead of elections in May. Prosecutors said that Nosiwe Mapisa Nkakula, who resigned her speakership post, was formally detained after handing herself in to the police near Pretoria. Spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority, Henry Mamatomane, said that the ANC veteran was due to appear before a judge and be formally charged with corruption and money laundering. This is coming just under 2 months before the national elections, and the case has added to the woes of ANC, which is struggling in opinion polls amidst a weak economy and accusations of official graft and mismanagement. While the South Africans head to the polls in national and provincial elections on May the 29th, the ANC is expected to see its share of the votes drop below 50% for the first time since the advent of democracy in 1994, potentially forcing it to form a coalition of rival parties to remain in power. And that's the size of the package. And thanks for joining us. I am Raymond Ken Mbata. You could still join us on our social media handles, Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram, Atlantic TV Network. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for staying with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentary.